All right. Oh,
Hello and welcome to episode number 14. I think it's 14, I might be wrong, of Conversations Across the Ditch podcast with myself, Carrie Marie in New Zealand, and the beautiful Kellie O'Shea in Tasmania.
hi guys.
We just want to welcome you today to today's session, which is all about the magic of rapport, as shared by Tony Robbins in his book, Unlimited Power. And we were just having a conversation before this about why rapport is so important with our everyday lives in terms of the people that we're meeting, whether they're new, whether they're friends, family, co-workers, bosses, employees. Rapport is like the foundation of our communication. Would you like to add to that, Kellie? Because I know you have a lot to say about the subject.
Oh, absolutely. And and what you exactly said is the essence of our communication. It's the ability to enter someone else's map of the world. And that is, and again, at the same time, allowing other people to enter yours. It is so valuable, and and reading's really important as well. And on the journey that we're on, Carrie, we do it unconsciously, every day. And now that we can become more conscious of it, we can enjoy it more and get so much more out of it. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And what I love is this quote that Tony Robbins shares at the very start of the chapter. And at first I was like, I don't know that I understand what this quote means. And it's this: the friend who understands you creates you, by Romain Rolland. And I want Kellie to share, I'd love for you to share with us what that quote means to you, because when you shared it, it was like, oh my goodness, yes, this makes so much sense.
Like when I read this chapter and the magic of rapport, the title, I straight away, and I kid you not, I wrote down in my book that I wanted to thank and acknowledge Carrie for building the blocks to creating the amazing rapport that we have together. That rapport has allowed me to grow and stretch beyond things that I would have thought imaginable. And that to me is a great example of the importance of building rapport in everyday life, not just to get what you want, but to really get to know people and yourself grow and stretch. And that is why rapport is so important to me. And I want to thank you and acknowledge you, Carrie, for creating this foundation and this rapport that you are continuously giving me and sharing with me and allowing me to be who I am. I love it. No, thank you. Mwah.
Thank you too, because when you shared that with me, it was like you build the rapport with me too. And so you help me to grow and stretch as well. You help me to be a better person, to want to do better with these podcasts, to do better in our group. You help me push myself. You've given me the means to trust someone outside of myself. You trust in me where I've lacked trust in me. And having that outside of myself has been awesome. And I was showing actually that I need to do some more posts for the group. And I was thinking about it. Now, in past times, I'm like, oh, you know what? Who cares? Who's going to watch it? Who's going to listen? And I probably would have backed out and just put it off a bit longer. But instead, I was like, no, I made this promise to Kellie that I would have, and the group as well, but more because I have this rapport with Kellie more than anyone else, that I would make these posts. They would go out every day, 8 a.m. New Zealand time, 6 a.m. Australian time. They would be there. And so I wanted to follow through on that commitment, because we built this rapport, this trust with each other.
Yeah,
so I thank you as well, because without you, I wouldn't be stretching and pushing myself the way that I have been. So thank you too.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And for our listeners, excuse me, that there is a great example of the need to build the rapport and keep it. You know, like we've now got this rapport going, and I don't think it's ever going to change. I think yeah.
I certainly hope not, because I love it. I really do. I love these conversations. I love doing this here with you and sharing with our listeners as well. It's awesome. So
it is.
So what rapport does is it helps us to feel like we've known someone forever. It helps to create an environment where we feel safe and open to trust, to feel heard, to feel like we're understood, or to create a place where the other person feels like they're heard and understood. And if you're,
Absolutely.
I mean, this is about creating a safe environment. Now, if you're wanting to create results, for example, in an employment situation, how valuable would it be to help people understand that they're understood? You know what I mean? So that
absolutely, yeah.
Perhaps from that place, they would be more willing to make a positive change. It's something that they're doing in their behavior that isn't quite right or serving you, but if they're feeling listened to and accepted and valued because you're taking time out to build rapport with them, then we'll like to shift. And that goes for friends and family as well, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's impressive to be able to do that. You know, and you know, building the rapport, you know, like work or friendship, it's so important, and it is one of the main skills that we should all aim and desire to have. You know, to be able to build that rapport, to understand how to build that rapport and keep it and hold on to it. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's really important.
And I want to add to this as well, is that when we have good rapport, and it's so true for like what we've been doing together, and I notice it, well, I'm sure those of you who are listening, you'll have noticed that when you have good rapport with someone, tasks are easier, they're simpler, and they're so much more fun and enjoyable. When I was doing this podcast on my own, would be nowhere near as much fun as it is doing this with Kellie.
I love it. And you know, if I can, you know, give another example there of, you know, looking back in our very first podcast, you know, I was nervous. I spoke really, really, really fast. I spoke over the top of you. But again, you know, building that rapport between us, you know, we match and mirror each other, which is another topic we're going to talk about soon. And another important thing that we've learned to do, and it helps us hold that rapport.
Absolutely. So let's get into the what then, because I can see you're raring to go into that. So what is rapport? So rapport is the ability to form a powerful human bond, a relationship of responsiveness. It's a tool for producing results with others. And we form rapport through our words, so our content, what we're saying and talking about, with our tone of voice, so how we're saying those words, and our body language, our physiology. Now, most people think that the majority of our communication is through our words. It's not. That makes up only 7% of what we actually understand of what was being said. We actually understand more through how something is being said. So if and we'll remember when we were kids, I'm sure there's a big difference. Like for me, it was a difference between Carrie and Carrie Marie and for Kellie.
Absolutely. The difference between Kellie or Kellyanne. Then then using the whole name, the tone, the body language, standing at the front door with the hands on the hip. Kellyanne. You know, I knew I was in trouble. I knew it. I knew.
Absolutely. So 7% of our communication is words. 38% is how we say those words. It's why
Wow.
we can perhaps say the nicest of things, but if we're saying mean words, sorry, we're saying the nicest things, but we're saying it in a tone that doesn't match that, we'll go with the tone, not the words.
Absolutely.
And I'm just thinking about animals, actually. I know people do this all the time. They'll say nasty things about to an animal, but the tone is nice and the animal's all friendly because they're picking up on the tone, not the words.
You
must have,
yeah.
and I know animals do understand a whole lot more than we give them credit for. Anyway,
absolutely.
back to the other part, then physiology makes up 55% of our understanding in the communication.
Wow.
So it's huge. How we hold our bodies tells a lot, tells a whole story. It's like the picture's worth 1,000 words. Same, Claudia, this is what we're seeing.
And that makes sense, you know, if you're going to say a kind word to someone, but you're standing there with your body tense, your hands on your hip, and you're not even looking at them, you know, more so the possibility they're going to not hear what you say, but they're going to see how you look, you know, and then, yeah, it's everything, isn't it?
Totally is. So
it is.
Tony shares actually a bit about Milton Erickson and how he used these 3 things to actually build up rapport and communicate with his clients. And so what he did was he used the breath. So he matched someone's breathing. If they were breathing shallow, he would breathe shallow. If they were breathing deep, he would breathe deep. And I use this with my sound healing clients as well, because when they've got their eyes shut and we're having a session together, we aren't communicating with sound. We're not. They can't see my body, but through the breath alone, we can build rapport. So building rapport with breath is an amazingly powerful tool that we can use to start having that sameness with each other, to build up that place of safety.
I love that, you know, because I mean I've experienced that sound healing with you, and that's great because I wasn't aware that was how you did that. So now you've let out one of your secrets.
It's true, and it's like through the power of the breath as well, we can lead you into an even deeper state. So it's really powerful as someone who's in a healing space to be able to do that, because then if I notice that her breathing's going a bit shallow, I can actually keep my breathing deep, and she will start to match me.
Wow.
Unconsciously.
Yeah.
Because we built that rapport.
Yeah.
You know, it's safe to go there. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, breath, all this stuff is so powerful. So breath is like, and it's such a key thing because we all have to breathe.
Well, that's it, right?
So foundational thing that we can all do. So breath, the next thing he used was his posture. So how he held himself. So for instance, if someone's got their arms crossed, you could cross your arms. If they've got their legs crossed, you could cross your legs in the same way. It can be just noticing how they hold themselves and matching that.
So that's a great example of matching and mirroring, isn't it? What you're saying there.
Yeah.
You know, and wow, you know, like for me, when I think of mirroring someone, it makes me nervous because I don't know, I'm like, what if they take it the wrong way? What if they think I'm making fun of them, or I'm trying to be silly? That's been my mindset for a long time. But if I can, you know, quickly, and I know I'm jumping ahead here, Carrie, but
no, it's good. It's great. It's a great conversation. Yeah. I appreciate it.
You know, I work with children, and unconsciously, I realize that I've been doing a lot of matching and mirroring with them, and I'm seeing amazing results. You know, like a child who might be grumpy, not be grumpy. I will go and sit next to them, and I'll be grumpy like they are. I'll have my arms crossed, and I'll be like my head down, and every now and then I'll be like, and they end up looking at me and going, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Well, what's wrong with you?" And they're like, "Nothing." I'm like, "Well, me either." And they go off and play because I brought them they're actually turning that focus onto me, which is allowing whatever's happening to kind of disappear for a minute, and then they're focused on what's wrong with me. And I'm realizing now that I'm doing that more and more every day. And now that I'm aware of what it is and how I'm really helping them and building that rapport, I'm not going to stop. I love it.
I love what you just shared there as well, Kellie, because it's so much more than you showing them what they were doing. You're actually letting them see their emotional state. You're actually reflecting that back to them and giving them a chance to see what it was that they were experiencing. And and being able to ask, well, what's wrong with you? And then asking them the question. So you're mirroring everything about what they were doing and how they were being in that moment and not making it wrong.
Exactly. And that's it, you know, and that's important about matching and mirroring, is not trying to tell that person that they shouldn't be feeling like that or acting that way, you know. And I think that's really important, and that's another thing that I'm learning.
Oh, I love this. Yeah. Let's talk a bit about what rapport isn't and what matching and mirroring isn't. Because that's also and then let's talk more about what rapport is. So rapport isn't no eye contact.
Well, that's it, you know. And you know, another example, you know, I know that listeners and know Carrie's in New Zealand, I'm here in Tasmania, but we have an eye contact over our video, you know, and that's really important for us to be supporting each other and know where we're going and building that rapport. Even, you know, across the ditch, we're building that rapport. So yes, the eye contact is really important when you're talking to someone, in building that rapport, having a conversation. You know, it just shows respect and, you know, and showing a genuine, I don't know, a want, a need, a genuine to hear what they have to say and to be there for them. You know, and so that way, you know, matching in it, like probably mirroring, I don't guess it depends who the person is, but matching, you know, definitely making that contact. And yeah, I think eye contact is really important.
Absolutely. So it's not breaking eye contact. It's not listening. And that can include things like focusing on TV. It could be talking over them.
Yeah.
It could be when you talk about something else. Yeah. It can be, what else, Kellie? Help me out. My mind is just going blank.
Absolutely. One of the things, when you were giving those examples, you know, I'm thinking of what really is one of my pet hates or pet hate dislike, when I am talking to somebody and they are focused on their phone. They've got their head down and there's no eye contact, but they're also doing something else. I'm like, well, are you actually listening to me? Because you're showing me that you're not. And then they say, oh, but I am, but you're not showing me. So that rapport is not happening. You know, you may be listening to me. Maybe you can do two things at once, that's fine. But I'm not feeling or seeing that rapport that I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great share. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you don't have that attention on you, you don't feel hurt. Don't feel like you're being taken seriously or that they're really paying attention. Why would you?
Absolutely.
So absolutely, a great example. Great example. So what else isn't rapport? Rapport isn't
well, you mentioned talking over someone or interrupting someone, you know, or, you know, like the other thing that is another with me is if someone asks me a question and they don't wait for an answer, but they say the answer or what they think I'm going to say. I'm like, well, what? I'm not going to say that. No. And then again, you know, they've lost me. I'm like, I'm not interested in what you've got to say now. In a not a mean way, but yeah. So I think that's important, not to talk over people or answer people. Talk for people. And then when you're in a group situation, and someone responds to someone else and says something, asks you something, and someone else answers for you.
That's a switch off too.
Yeah.
Another one actually is, say, we talked about modalities in a previous podcast, and for instance, a kinesthetic person who tends to feel in their body will often talk really slowly. Now, if they're talking slowly and then they have a visual person who talks really, really fast, and they're talking really, really fast, this person who talks really slowly, you're not going to have rapport. You want to match.
Yeah.
You want to match that tonality, that tempo of tonality.
Absolutely.
So if they need to talk slow, you talk slow with them. If they need to talk fast, you've got to speed up your voice. If you're kinesthetic, you've got to speed up your voice so you match that visual person, because they will not understand you. They'll be impatient waiting for you to catch up.
Absolutely. And another example there is, if you're a visual person and you get one of those sale calls, and the person, they know nothing about you, so they start up like their talking part. They're telling you all about this product, but you're like, but I can't, I don't know what you're talking. I need to see it before I'm even going to be able to connect with what you're trying to sell me. So that just being aware of what Carrie is talking about in the different modalities in which we've talked about in previous podcasts. That's really important in building the rapport and the matching and the mirroring. And I guess that in a way, it also builds respect and it builds that connection, which again is just part of rapport. And it's really important. And it's a life skill, isn't it, Carrie? It's not just something, it's not just something you learn to get what you want and then let it go. It's something that you learn, and you learn, okay, this has helped me get where I need to go. I'm holding on to this because I've got so many other places I want to get to. And they're life skills, and everything that we're learning in this book are life skills.
Yeah.
Don't you agree, Carrie?
I do, and it's so much more than that, because what it means is we get to form deeper connections and relationships with each other. It's not just about getting to a result or a goal or something like this, or helping someone to see your idea and vision and to change their ways possibly, or whatever else you might want them to do. It's about forming those deeper connections, because when we feel understood, we're going to open up more. We're going to be able to be more free to be who we want to be, who we are at our core. We'll be more willing to share our deepest, darkest secrets, knowing that actually they're safe. Sometimes, of course, you are the sort of person who will keep that information safe. So please, it's something to be used wisely, because people will open up. And there's an example of this, actually. I'll share this example. It's a story that Sharon Pearson shared. I've forgotten the name of the guy, but all except that he's a famous person. He was well known. And I think he wasn't the sort of person who liked to give interviews or really talk that much. And she happened to be sitting with him on a plane. And he got his earbuds in and he was reading a paper. But how do you build rapport with someone who's not even looking at you? Can't even see his eyes. So she noticed his posture. Okay, what are his legs doing? She picked up a paper herself and wore earbuds too. And as she noticed him moving, she would move. And I said, okay, he's watching a movie now. She'd find the same movie. She'd watch his posture, do the same thing, match his breathing. Towards the end of the flight, he actually started to chat to her. Told her his whole life story. Gave her his business card and said, hey, let's call me. She never did, because it was an experiment. She wanted to see how far she could push the boundaries with the rapport, what was possible. And that's what you can achieve just with physiology. And that's why it's important that we respect that when someone opens up to us, to respect the boundaries around that.
Absolutely.
Is that opening
And
up? You're seeing the similarities, you're creating that safe space that they're going to step into. So I urge you, those of you who are listening to this and thinking, oh, wow, this is really cool. Yes, it is. And you need to be responsible with it and respect the other person entirely.
That's it. Yeah, I was going to add that one in, you know, like, you know, some people may see the matching and the mirroring as a little uncomfortable, and so you need to be aware of how to be aware of that and to maybe stop it.
Well,
you know, you don't want to make.
Yeah. Well, what I've noticed is when I've been in groups or even with one other person, I've just been aware of, okay, well, how am I holding my body right now and how are they holding their bodies? It's really fascinating. So there's a room of it, it's like maybe 5-6 people. You'll find some of us have got all of our legs crossed. You'll see a couple of people with their legs apart. You'll notice what they're doing with their arms. Like, oh, okay, so I'm in rapport with that person. And that will allow me even realizing it. This is me doing it unconsciously, and everyone's doing the same thing. So it's not an unnatural thing. What's unnatural is that we haven't brought consciousness to
it. Absolutely, yeah. And bringing consciousness to it, it makes it fun, you know, and it allows us to, I mean, at the end of the day, it allows us to communicate so much better, you know, and sharing things with each other and not assuming. And yeah, it's great. Rapport is fantastic.
Absolutely. So this empowers us, when we're talking about empowering, to actually help someone else. It empowers us in the sense that it means that we have those deeper conversations that we're talking about before. It also means that we are able to see beyond our own maps of the world. We actually start to be more open to how other people are viewing the world and starting to talk their language and be okay with that. It's allowing us to develop our flexibility with our communication style and our behavior. And can you imagine how much more powerful that is to be flexible than to be rigid? It's got to be this way or the highway, or else.
And that's it. I love that. Yeah, I love that. And I love how you mentioned that, you know, allowing yourself to be part of someone else's map of the world and allowing others to join your or see your map of the world, you know, and it's just phenomenal. I've used that word. I had to use it. I had to throw it in somewhere. You know, that's phenomenal to know that these are the skills that we can allow each other in, you know. And again, Carrie, you know, she said before, you know, but we still need to be aware who we're letting in, who are letting us in, you know, and it's just always in the back of your mind, be aware of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So key to all of this. So so let's talk a bit more about, we talked a little bit about what rapport isn't. Let's talk a little bit more about what rapport actually is. Let's get a little bit more clear on that. So we've talked about the breath, so matching the breath. If they're breathing deep, breathe deep too. If they're breathing shallow, breathe shallow. If they're holding themselves with their arms crossed, cross your arms. If they're talking to you, or you've heard them talking, and when you talk to them, match the tonality. So if they are kind of sounding all high and excited, match that. If they're sounding kind of low, match that. Whatever it is, it's not about you. It's about building that communication with this person so that they feel like they can accept you and that you're safe.
Yeah.
And then there's the gestures too. So if they're gesticulating with their hands, I do that quite a lot. Follow the gestures.
Absolutely.
You don't have to go all out. It doesn't have to be every single gesture, but it can be like you're holding. I think it's better when it's matching. So like you're using the same hand. We're on video, so we can see what each other are doing. But if I use my hand, we match. If I mirror you, it's kind of funny, isn't it? Kind of a bit weird.
Yeah.
But matching is more completely than the mirroring. So my right hand's to my mouth, and Kellie's got her right hand to her mouth. That feels more comfortable. So play with it. Don't get too hung up on, oh, this feels weird, just become the observer. Try it out, become the experimenter, the scientist. What happens when I do this? What happens when I do that? How do they look? How do they treat me? How do they sound different? What changes? And notice the color as well. This is another thing that I notice. When I'm in rapport with somebody, their face, like the skin tone, changes. Like sometimes if they're not rapport, if they're I don't know what they might be thinking about, but sometimes like if their face might be, I don't know, does not have that much color in it. They might be looking a bit sad, maybe, who knows. But when you get rapport, they seem to get a bit more life in their face, and they'll often say to you, this is someone you've never met before, I feel like I've known you for a long time. That's when you know you've made rapport with them, because there is that feeling of, I feel like I know you, even though you haven't known them.
Yeah. And that's, I love that. Yeah.
So physiology, and I want to share this line with you out of the book. So physiology is the person unconsciously seeing you and saying to themselves inside their heads, they're just like me. They must be okay.
Yeah.
That's why that story about Sharon Pearson is so powerful, because that guy unconsciously saw, oh, she's just like me. She must be okay. It'll be okay for me to share my life story with her because she's just like me.
I love it, and if I can, I want to share in the book, Tony tells a story of he was New York and Central Park, I think it was, and he went and he sat on a bench, and across the walkway there was another guy sitting on the bench. So he thought, I'm going to do a little bit of an experiment here. I'm going to mirror and match this guy and see what happens. Then the guy, crosses his legs. So Tony crosses his legs. The guy, picks up the paper. So Tony picks up the paper. The guy scratches his head. So Tony scratches his head. The guy's on his phone. So Tony gets on his phone. And then eventually the man gets his hands up, looks at Tony, walks over, and then, hey, do I know you? I feel like I've known you for a long time. And then he sits down, they start talking, and then the guy offers Tony a job.
That's amazing.
I know, and I mean, again, like Sharon, he didn't take the job because he admitted I was doing a little bit of an experiment, but there's proof in with both Sharon's story and Tony's of building that rapport, by matching and mirroring in a safe and not a making fun of kind of way. He wasn't, making fun of the guy. He was consciously just, slow. The guy was crossing his legs slowly. So Tony did. He was just making him aware, wow, there's a guy over there who's just like me.
Yeah, wow. Testing it out, building rapport with just the body language. Just the body language. You haven't even said a word to him. Just the body language.
Yeah, and that got the guy's attention. I must know this guy. I'm sure I'd met this guy before. But no, he hadn't. But because of that connection with the body language, he felt safe. And he felt like, wow. So it doesn't, like Carrie said, it doesn't have to be just the voice. You've got the body language, the physiology. Is that right? The physiology?
Yeah.
And so it's all amazing. And then the example that I gave before of just sitting down next to the child and just mimicking or mirroring or matching their body language. That got their attention. And then all of a sudden they were worried about me because they're like, oh my goodness, you look like there's something wrong. And then when I asked them what was wrong, they're like, well, nothing, and it's like, so it's really important to be aware that it's not all about one thing to get a rapport. It doesn't have to be about the language or the way you talk, but there's lots of things that can be involved.
Absolutely. So the primary thing is the physiology. That sets you up for the unconscious communication before you even start. And I love that story with the car, because that really brings it home that you don't need to be talking. And even with your language, you would have matched the kids' language to reflect them completely. So they're completely heard and seen. And them to see that, oh, actually, there isn't anything really wrong. Cool, I'll go play. And then we're not worried about you anymore, because you've just reflected back to them what they were showing you, and they weren't aware of it. That was unconscious. Exactly. It's awesome.
You know, it is. And again, you know, like when we're talking about the physiology, the fact that, you know, I lowered myself to their level. I didn't do it standing over them. So, you know, when you're, you know, someone's sitting down and go and sit down at their level. You know, like with Tony, he sat on the bench the same way the guy was sitting on the bench. I mean, Sharon was in the airplane, but she's sitting on the same level. She's not standing over him. Tony wasn't standing across with his arms crossed trying to do it. It's all about being exactly where that person is, at the same level. And then that rapport, it's going to be a little bit easier to create because you're on the same level.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So you're more able to see it. So the communication that happens on the unconscious level, so the physiology happens on the unconscious. That's a communication that happens in the background. That's our little, the bit of us that wants to keep us safe, which I think is like out the brainstem, that little part that goes looking for the danger. That part of you is ticking over and going, okay, this person must be okay because they're just like me. And then on the conscious level, we have the language. Oh, they're using the same words as me. Like if, for example, a visual person might say that they see things. Of a person who's auditory might say, I hear you. Whereas someone who's kinesthetic might say, I feel that, for instance. So that if you use the same language that they're using, and a great example is that both of us actually naturally use hear a lot. I hear you. I hear that. We both actually resonate with that, and they resonate. We both resonate with these words a lot, and that also helps to build our rapport.
Absolutely. Because it means, you know, for someone to say, I hear you, it means so much more than just, I hear you. You know, it allows me to know that Carrie is on my wavelengths and that she's seen or heard beyond what I'm trying to say through my tone, through my language, through me, you know, like there, you know, it's really important. And then they're in the book, and you know, I'm sure it will go up on our page. You know, there's a list of how people perceive communication, and I was just reading over it, Carrie, and you know, I use a majority of each of them in different ways. So, you know, when I sometimes refer to myself as auditory, and I look down that list, I don't always use all those. I use, you know, other ones as well, which is I think that's really important to be aware of that. You know, don't just hold yourself or other people under one area. You know, I think that's really important.
Absolutely. Yeah, because when we use a little bit of all the words, but there might be one which we lean into more than the others.
Absolutely, you know,
preference. And these are something called predicates as well, and you can find those in the group as well. If you search for predicates, you'll find there's a whole list of words that visual, auditory, kinesthetic people use, or like we said before, it'll be a mixture, but people will lean into one preference usually. So I found I was looking through all those words, so I use all of these across the board.
I know.
But when we're talking, it's like, but I think unconsciously, I lean into auditory more. So the words that come into there. So it's something, and we'll give you a task at the end of this conversation, so you can go away and experiment with this yourself. We'll go on that later.
Absolutely.
So it's matching the words they're using, matching the tonality, matching the tempo. And when you do that, that person will feel heard. They will feel like they're being understood. And what we do with clients is, as they're sharing what they're sharing, we'll repeat back to them what they've said with us. We'll actually say, hey, I hear you, and this is what I heard. And they might go, yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Sometimes they might go, no, that's not quite it. We might have said the exact same words. They might say, oh, no, that's not quite what I mean. And it gives them an opportunity to reassess what it is that they actually mean and want to say, which is really cool. And sometimes it's like, yeah, and they feel really heard, feel strongly understood. And that opens them up even more because they have that rapport with you.
Absolutely, you know, and yeah, I think that one of the main things that I love about coaching is having the opportunities to do that. You know, saying to someone, you know, well, what I've just heard is, you know, blah blah blah, well, not blah, and then, you know, having them, you know, come back at you and with what you said, like yeah, or no, I didn't actually mean it like that. And then, you know, like Carrie said, you've got them thinking, and they're thinking on a different wavelength because they realize, well, no, I didn't actually mean it like that. I said it, but I didn't actually mean it like that. And so yeah, so that is definitely one of the skills that I love, and I use that outside the coaching as well.
Yeah, use it all the time. It's a life skill, like we said before, and it deepens our friendships and relationships with others. And it's really interesting to see what happens as you develop that rapport and those relationships using these skills. It's so cool.
It is.
Is there anything else that we would love or that would be beneficial to add here, Kellie? Because we've talked now about why it's important, because it helps us to build amazing relationships. It helps people to feel heard and understood. It helps us to be more flexible with the way we see the world and the way we see others. It's a way to, it's the what is basically the way we build the relationships. It's a tool for us to deepen. Actually, I love this. Actually, I want to say again, it's a tool for producing results with others. Whether that's better relationships, whether it's a project that you're working on, whether it's a better team building exercise, whatever it is, I love that you can use it in that way as well, as a tool. And it's got our words, our tone of voice, and our body language. And by using those consciously, we can open up the door to have some amazing conversations.
Absolutely, you know, and you know, it's like I've said at the beginning, and it's the essence of successful communication, because you're not assuming that you're hearing something. You're building that rapport and that relationship that can create amazing things in this community, in this world. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely love that. All right, shall we set these guys for listening?
Yes. Let's do our task, Carrie. I need to find it. Okay, so what Carrie and I would like is, let me find, I've lost the stage.
It's all good. Time's ticking away. It's all good.
Okay.
No stress.
That, you know, like
relax.
You know, Carrie talked about, you know, the list of words that come under the different types of modalities, you know, that people use more often. So what we'd like you to do is we would like you to, well, what we're going to do on the page, we will give you a list of these words, okay? So you don't have to go away and make your own. We're going to have them there for you. You know, and then for the next several days, you know, the people around you, maybe families or colleagues, you know, listen to words that they use, the way that they're talking, and then, you know, not like just straight away, but just move into it using that same kind of language around them, you know. And we're keen to hear what happens when you do that, you know. You know, what happens, what changes, you know. And yeah, so we like the people that are on our page, you know, if you could share with us, you don't have to use names if you don't want to, but you know, what happens when you start using the same kind of language? And you're noticing a change in your relationship with them or your communication with them. You know, are they maybe more aware of what you've got to say? You know, and then consciously you can tell yourself, pat yourself on the back, because you're starting to build a stronger rapport. Because you're matching them, you're mirroring them. You know, and again, in the same sense, if you want to go a little bit further, after you've done that, you know, then go back to using totally different language. You know, in that rapport still there? Has it changed a little bit? And Carrie and I are very keen to hear how that goes and sharing it with you, you know, and sharing it with us, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you wanted to add to that, Tara?
I think notice how you feel as well when you're in rapport with someone, because you know when you've got it when it feels natural and it feels flowy and you feel safe, you feel good. When you don't have rapport, you deliberately break it, it feels really awkward. Really
it does.
So and I remember doing an exercise actually, and I want to share this. I remember doing an exercise once in a room where I was trained to be a coach, and they got us to build this beautiful rapport with each other. It felt really, really good. And then they were asking us to get up and move. Just literally leave the person or get on the phone or something. And oh my God, it felt really, really awful. It just felt so wrong. But it's to show us the contrast between having good rapport, having that good communication, and then not. No, see, like we block the eye contact, we focus on the phone, we'd be like, and be like, yeah, you know, yeah, it just didn't feel good. So you'll know when you've got rapport and it feels really, really good. And usually the person will start warming to you, they'll start smiling if they aren't already. Yeah, you'll notice that. Just notice the differences just from changing your language to match their language.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then what Carrie said, notice the difference in you as well. How does that make you feel? You know, when these people, you've got that rapport, you feel that rapport. You know, what are you feeling inside? Is it something, you know, something that's amazing? So yeah, I love that. And I'm keen to hear, you know, what people feel and what they're seeing, and I mean, what are they doing? And they're changing relationships, changing work habits, changing the environment that you're in.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an employer and you do this with your employees, oh my goodness, think about how more responsive they're going to be to hearing new ideas, to working in different ways with you, because they feel safe with you.
Absolutely. You know, and you know, they know that you're hearing them. You know, and that in itself, that is a comfortable thing to know, that you're being heard.
Absolutely.
And
So the task is to look out for the words that people are using, noticing them, start using and reflecting those words back at them. Notice the difference between when you were and when you weren't and when you were. Notice how they react to you. Write it down, and we would love to hear how this was for you. So you can share this in the group, which is Empowering You Book Club in Facebook. It's a great group book. It's a great book. It's a great book club. We have lots of resources there for you, and we'll have the list of predicates in there for you. So that's the list of words to look out for to find out someone's visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, mostly in the way they're talking with you. So that would really help you nail it, and so you'll be able to use words in their language. So I'll have that all there for you, what to look out for. And then we'll just think of, do we create a post? Just post it in the group. Do a little postcard kind of post. Share in there what you found, what your discoveries were around rapport. We'd love to hear from you. So the link for the
Absolutely.
Facebook group will be in the description, and it is www.facebook.com/groups/empowering you book club. So you'll find that link in the description box. Do join us. It's completely free to join. You've got audios of the book. So if you want to hear this book, if you would love to see our beautiful faces, you can see the video. It gets posted on the day that it's recorded as best as we can, given technological issues and all the rest of it. We like to post it on the day if we can, if not, it's usually the next day. And this podcast, if you're listening to the podcast, you'll see that a week later. So if you want to get it in first, see it first, come and join us in the group. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Please do.
Beautiful community, all supporting each other, all wanting to grow and empower themselves. And we go through each book really in depth, talk about it in this podcast a little bit more. And we've got a new book starting in May.
I know. How exciting.
So, but we're super excited about this one still. So do join us. All the resources are there for you. We look forward to having you in there and taking part of it.
Absolutely, yeah. And and also, you have the beautiful Carrie Marie and myself. We're there as well, and we're there to support you and answer a question as much as we can. And if we can't answer them, we will source information to answer them for you.
Yes, we love great questions. Please test us. We love great questions. Questions and stretches us. So we love to be asked questions. So please do ask in the group. We look forward to questions coming in and supporting you on your journey to your ultimate power, your ultimate self, that empowered version of you that's great at communication, that's beautiful at achieving your success, whatever that might be.
Absolutely. It's an amazing journey to be on, and I'm so excited to be on it with everyone.
Love it. Me too. So thank you for listening or watching if you're in the group, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye for now.
Bye.